Well, tomorrow it's time to put up or shut up at Lambeau. Baltimore has to win to stay alive in the playoff chase, but Lamar Jackson is doubtful with a back contusion. Green Bay's not short on QB issues themselves. Jordan Love is out, and backup Malik Willis has a hurt shoulder. Tim Hasselbeck back with us ahead of tomorrow's NFL slate. Tim, both of these teams dealing with injuries under center. The Packers, yeah, they're in the playoffs thanks to that Lions loss yesterday. But how does this Green Bay team stack up against other NFC contenders?
Yeah, I think they're actually okay, Phil, when you look at how they stack up. And I understand the Parsons injury is huge, but Jeff Hafley, their defensive coordinator, I think will do a good job, finding ways to create pressure. And then, offensively, assuming Jordan Love is healthy for the postseason, I think they've got a really good shot. I really do. And part of it is because I think when you look at the rest of the NFC, everyone kind of has their own issues. Look, the 49ers are maybe as banged up as any team and at critical positions. So, no Fred Warner. Look, that could be a wash with the Micah Parsons injury. Look at a team like the Seattle Seahawks. They really have struggled to run the football, kind of all season long. And so that could rear its ugly head in the postseason. So, that ends up being an issue. And then I think you look at Philadelphia, they've had a hard time stopping the ball being run on them and running the football. So, look, I think Green Bay, while not a perfect football team, definitely can play good football in the postseason and stack up well against other teams in the NFC.
Yeah, just got to find some momentum. Green Bay's lost their last two. Those were at Denver and at Chicago, but the Packers haven't lost three in a row since October of 2023. Tim, for the early Saturday game, we got Texans at Chargers. Houston needs a win to clinch a playoff spot. LA needs a win to keep division hopes in play. When we get to the playoffs, which of these teams is a bigger threat?
The Houston Texans, and I say that because they have one of the best, if not the best, defenses in football right now, and a lot of that has to do with how they can win up front. They have a dominant front, which allows them to not have to bring extra people to create pressure. They're extremely well coached on that side of the ball. They've got guys in the secondary that make plays on the football, and then you just flip it around. I think the struggles up front for the Chargers ultimately will catch up to them against really good competition in the postseason. Herbert's done an amazing job playing through offensive line struggles all season long, but I think when you play better teams on a consistent basis in the postseason, that will really show up. That's why Houston, I think, in the tournament ends up being something that's a big challenge for everybody.
Yeah, the absences of Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater, amongst others, will be tested tomorrow, but still, Chargers 1.5 favorites, according to our friends over at DraftKings Sportsbook. Tim Hasselbeck, we got some more snaps for you later in SportsCenter. Talk to you in a bit.
To the NBA, because we were gifted with 5 games on Christmas Day. Team, how much faith do you have in this Denver team in the playoffs?
I understand that they've kind of been the cardiac kids, these late, fourth quarter comebacks. They've struggled maybe against lesser opponents. But, look, I have plenty of faith. Quarterback that creates a lot of problems for you in terms of he can get hot as a passer, and then he can also create a lot of problems with his mobility. So, while I understand they haven't been perfect, and they even have a recent game where, Jacksonville, ran them off the field in their own building. But I think as you look at how the AFC, playoff picture is coming to shape, some of the quarterbacks that, aren't going to be on opposing AFC teams, I do think that the Denver Broncos can have a lot of success this postseason.
Yeah, and speaking of their quarterback, Bo Nix, he has 54 career passing touchdowns, breaking the tie with Derek Carr for the third most in a player's first 2 NFL seasons. So they're doing fine at that position, but the Broncos got a nice gift this season. With that win, the Lions were left with a big lump of coal. They committed 6 turnovers, 5 by Jared Goff, in a 23-10 loss to the Vikings. Detroit's playoff hopes come to an end after 2 straight division titles. Now, the Lions started the season hot, going 4-1, and their odds to make the playoffs improved to -600. But they just went 4-7 over their next 11 games, and now they'll be playing golf during the playoffs. So, Tim, clearly not the year the Lions, or probably anyone, was expecting. So what do they need to address going forward?
Well, I think there are a few things they need to address. They had changes on their offensive line this year that certainly hurt them. So, looking at that, much like all teams do in the offseason, will be important. But I also think that, when you lose both coordinators, things can change. We've seen other teams struggle with that in the past. And so, I think that compiled with, Dan Campbell's aggressiveness, and I think that was great as he was establishing a culture in Detroit. But I think that needs to be reevaluated. I don't think that you can be as good of a team as they are, playing some of the games that they're in, and then always be aggressive, on some of the fourth downs, especially where you are in the field, whether it's field goal range or not. And so I think that needs to be reevaluated. I think it's different when you're setting a culture. I think it's different when you don't have the talent on your team to compete and you're trying to find an edge to win. But I think those things have changed in Detroit. And so I think the method has to change as well in terms of the aggressiveness going forward.
Yeah, and to your point over their assistant coaches, Campbell had to hire 9 new coaches this season. So coaching truly matters, America. Tim, really appreciate you. Stick around, though.
Mr. Johnson, the job is not done for your Bears, but it's close. Chicago just needs a win or any Packers loss to clinch the NFC North. Now, there's an 86% chance, as we sit here today, that the NFC West winner will be your Conference 1 seed, as both San Francisco and Seattle control their own destiny for it. If the Seahawks win out, they're atop the conference, they get the bye. But there's hope for Chicago, and it's not that crazy. They just need 3 results to go their way to sit atop the NFC. Got to win in Santa Clara Sunday Night Football. They got to avenge an early season loss to Detroit in the season finale. But if Chicago wins out, they need just 1 Seattle loss, either in Carolina, who's sneaky good at home, or in their season finale at the 49ers. And the Bears are your NFC 1 seed for just the 4th time in the Super Bowl era.
Great stuff there, Phil. Now we got Jeremy Fowler back with us. And Jeremy, you gave us the latest on quarterbacks going into the weekend. But now let's talk about some other big names in the NFL. So what are things looking like for George Kittle ahead of a big game on Sunday night?
He's trying to get back for this Bears game, but it is questionable. He did not practice all week on that ankle sprain. I'm told it's a mid to low ankle sprain, Scooby. So the good news is it's not a high ankle issue. So he will be back, definitely for the playoffs. But right now they just want to take it to game time. Over the weekend, maybe he can work his way back to play on Sunday, but hardly a slam dunk when he didn't practice at all. Brock Purdy 0-3 in his career without George Kittle, so that's key. Then you got the Bears. So good news, bad news here. Rome Odunze still out for the 3rd straight week. So he's had this foot issue that really they're trying to rest up and hope it heals by the playoffs. They avoided putting him on injured reserve, but it's something that's been nagging. It's really a rest issue. He doesn't need surgery or anything. So they're going to hold him out. But then you got Luther Burden is in. He had an ankle issue, but he practiced this week in full today. He is good to go. So Odunze out, Burden in.
Yeah, listen, Burden is a really good player, so they'll be fine with him. And the Bears can clinch the NFC North title with a win against the Niners. And the Niners can clinch the 1 seed if they win out. Meanwhile, the Chiefs are out of playoff contention, and that leaves 36-year-old Travis Kelce's future in question. Take a listen to what he said after yesterday's game. It's lots of speculation about this, and is this the end for Travis Kelce or not? What more can you tell us about it?
Well, even though that sounds like a man retiring, and it felt last night like that was his last game on Arrowhead, I'm not so sure. My sense is that nothing has been decided yet, and Kelce really has to shake this out and give it some time. I go to the Jason Kelce blueprint and just see how he feels. Certainly the Chiefs are really prepared for anything at this point. He's 36 years old. They're ready to really reinvent the offense a little bit anyways. They got to get the running game stronger, add some new weapons, but still feels possible that Kelce could be in the fold there depending on what he decides. He's got time to do just that.
Yeah, and before he worries about the future, let's talk about the present, because if he plays in the season finale next week, Kelce will need just 10 receiving yards to reach the 13,000 mark for his career, and he could extend his franchise record and the longest active streak in the NFL of catching a pass in his 191st game. Just incredible.